the justice system. There are things that yourself and our elected officials and our community members can advocate for, but we're focused on the pieces that we're responsible for. And I'm not trying to deflect, but we've got to understand we have one of the most dynamic, diverse communities in the country.
Many times the police they don't release the pictures of the criminals. Like in the extortion case, the two girls, women were there in the extortion. Why police don't release their pictures? Because that also community want to know. Every time the picture is not released, even if they are above 18 years of old.
The break and enters, the auto theft, or the extortions are Peel-centric. They're not only in Brampton and Mississauga. They are occurring across this country. And policing and police agencies and law enforcement agencies are working in partnership and collaborating to address all these issues.
Recent example is the criminal 21 years old was caught by the police. Then he was released on bail, and then Peel police they put a public safety advisory that community, please be careful of this guy. He may reoffend the things. He will be living in this area. So as a human psychology, the people living in that area will be scared that this guy is a criminal. He can do a crime again because it is there in the advisory. So is that not a joke?
When we don't have pictures on file, we don't have pictures to release. Now, call the police, focus on keeping your family safe, don't get into confrontations. We can always replace property.
The day Peel police did a press conference with the media that these are the 5 culprits, next day the guy was out on the bail, and then he went to all the media, kind of highlighting himself that he's innocent and he's tried to become a hero also. The many calls we got as a media that what is happening.
In this particular case, it was necessary for us to alert the community to make sure that they're aware of the risk, and then we can work with them to mitigate that risk. We don't decide who gets bail, and there's another piece to this discussion.
How the temperament of a police officer, you are a deputy chief, how you see your forces, they get frustrated sometimes with this. They complain to you that we are catching this criminal, we caught him 6 times and again he is out, what should I do? So we heard that there is a new bail reforms with effect from January 2024, but on the ground level we don't see implementation of that.
The way to address these issues is to make yourself a difficult target, and collaboration between community members, Crime Stoppers, Neighborhood Watch, making sure that you know who your neighbors are and that you're communicating with them on a regular basis. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? So the way to prevent these issues is to make yourself a difficult target. But we need the community's support and help and advocacy.
Peel रीजनल पुलिस ਦੇ डिप्टी चीफ मार्क एंड्रयू ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਮੌਜੂਦ ਹੈ। ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਕਾਫੀ ਕੰਸਰਨਸ ਹੈ ਸੇਫਟੀ ਸਿਕਿਉਰਿਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ, ਪਬਲਿਕ ਸੇਫਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ। ਐਕਸਟੋਰਸ਼ਨਸ ਦੀਆਂ ਕਾਲ ਸੀਗੀਆਂ, ਉਹਦੇ ਤੇ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਕੀ ਕਰ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, ਪਬਲਿਕ ਨੂੰ ਕੌਨਫੀਡੈਂਸ ਦੇਣ ਲਈ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਕੀ ਕਰ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, ਔਰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਰੇਟ ਵਧਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੇ ਹੱਥ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਤੱਕ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਦਾਇਰੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਤੱਕ ਉਹ ਆਪਣਾ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਅੱਗੇ ਕੀ, ਵਟ ਨੈਕਸਟ, ਸਾਰੀ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਤੇ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ, ਸਿਕਿਉਰਿਟੀ ਤੇ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਮਾਰਕ ਐਂਡਰੂਜ਼, Deputy Chief Mark Andrews from Peel Regional Police. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Nitin.
The community has many concerns in terms of the crime, what is happening, extortions happening, crime rate has gone up. So what police is doing? Because the community, they have so much of concerns in terms of their security. We have seen extortion calls, we have seen break and enters in the midnight. So how police is addressing this issue?
Thank you for that question. The key message that we want to have our community understand from this discussion is that we understand their concerns, we share those concerns, and we're working to actively address the issues, whether it's break and enters, auto theft, or extortions. And for instance, in the case of the extortions, we became aware of an increased number of extortions that are associated with violence and gunfire in December. And immediately upon becoming aware of the connectivity between these incidents, we launched a investigative task force that is currently investigating all the extortions in our region. That task force has had some success. we've made a total of about 8 arrests related to those incidents, and we continue to work not only internally but with our local partners, the OPP and the RCMP. And we've been able to identify that these incidents are connected to other extortions across the country. This is not just a local problem. None of these issues that you have brought to my attention, the break and enters, the auto theft, or the extortions, are Peel-centric. They're not only in Brampton and Mississauga. They are occurring across this country. And policing and police agencies and law enforcement agencies are working in partnership and collaborating to address all these issues.
Deputy, many times the police, they don't release the pictures of the criminals. Like in the extortion case, the two girls, women were there in the extortion. Why police don't release their pictures? Because that also community want to know. Every time the picture is not released, even if they are above 18 years of old.
There are different factors that play into that. In this particular case, I can tell you that neither of the two accused parties had any pictures on file. And the process, the way it works, those pictures weren't going to be taken until their next court appearance. So there's a when we don't have pictures on file, we don't have pictures to release. And when people are released on undertakings, dependent on the releasing process after their arrest, we may not have pictures to release. When we do, we understand the community's concern and fear, and the way that these events have impacted the community. We want to reassure the community as much as we can.
Deputy, police is doing their best to catch the criminals, whatever is there in their parameters, police parameters. But what next? Because two examples I'll take. Number one, in the extortion case, when the person was accused, he got charged, but next day he was out on bail. The day Peel Police did the press conference with the media that these are the 5 culprits, next day the guy was out on the bail, and then he went to all the media, kind of highlighting himself that he's innocent and he's tried to become a hero also. The many calls we got as a media that what is happening. After that, I'll have the second example also.
Okay. Again, thank you for that. You raised an excellent point. The police of jurisdiction, in this case, Peel Regional Police, can only work within the framework of the legal system. We don't decide who gets bail. And there's another piece to this discussion that I think people like yourself and community members can advocate for. So I'm gonna say that is really not within the scope of our work. Yes. What I can tell you is that the things that we are responsible for, which is investigating crime in the region of Peel and laying the appropriate charges, we're going to do to the best of our ability. The justice system, there are things that yourself and our elected officials and our community members can advocate for, but we're focused on the pieces that we're responsible for. Within that context, though, I think it's important for us to remember that, as I said earlier, this is not just a Peel-centric situation.
This is Canada-wide.
This is Canada-wide. So we're working with our partners at the RCMP and at the federal level, other agencies at the federal level, to ensure that we're coordinating our investigations with them.
Because police officer is also a human being, and when they catch the criminal again and again, catch and release, catch him, then they get out. How the temperament of a police officer, you are a deputy chief, how you see your forces, they get frustrated sometimes with this, they complain to you that we are catching this criminal, we caught him 6 times and again he's out, what should I do?
So, Nishan, you clearly honed in on the issues that impact us.
Yes.
I not only work in the region, I live here. This is my home. So, and I've lived in the city of Brantford for 30 years. The fact is that the issues that you raise are a concern for us and our members, but we're professionals. we don't focus on the things we can't control. We focus on the pieces we can control. So, my advice to our officers, when they're human and they bring their concerns to me,
Yes.
are let's focus on doing the best work we can, on taking responsibility for the pieces we own, and then everyone else can do the same. Other parts of the justice system have different responsibilities, and they have to own those responsibilities. But in our area of responsibility, we're going to do the best job we can for our community.
So we heard that there is a new bail reforms with effect from January 2024, but on the ground level, we don't see implementation of that because elected officials told us that new bail reform is there. You will see the changes soon in January 2024, but now we have passed the January month. Recent example is the criminal 21 years old was caught by the police. Then he was released on bail, and then Peel Police, they put a public safety advisory that community, please be careful of this guy. He may reoffend the things. He will be living in this area. So as a human psychology, the people living in that area will be scared that this guy is a criminal. He can do a crime again because it is there in the advisory. So is that not a joke in the system?
Nitin, and I don't think I'd classify that as a joke. I understand the frustration. First off, we understand the community's concerns and frustrations, but we also have a charter of rights and freedoms which we have to work within that framework, and as the police, as I said earlier, we're responsible for certain pieces. So, when we have concerns about an individual, we've arrested and charged him appropriately, and those charges are in front of the court. But once the courts make their decision, we still have responsibilities. And one of those responsibilities is, letting our citizens be aware of issues that concern us. In this particular case, the accused's behavior and history is such that we really felt that it was necessary. We wouldn't do this if we didn't believe it was necessary to help the community safeguard itself. Because the police can't be everywhere 24/7. We can't be on every street corner. And even if we were, that wouldn't be enough. We need to work with our community, and the way that we can best work with that community is when that community understands what their risks are and what the issues are. In this particular case, it was necessary for us to alert the community to make sure that they're aware of the risk, and then we can work with them to mitigate that risk.
Nipti, what I understand that Peel Police is appealing to the community and to the media also that advocate to the next level, advocate to our elected officials, because media and community need to advocate because police is doing best in their parameters, in their resources, what they can do. Because this bail reform, even the extortionists, when they were caught, Mayor Brown said this is a heinous crime. And next day, Mayor Brown was shocked himself, even Chief of Police, the Nish Duryappa, he was shocked, surprised that this guy is out on bail. So your message to the community is advocate to the elected officials?
Continue to advocate for the changes that the community wishes to see, because at the end of the day, this is our justice system.
Yes.
It's the justice system for all Canadians, and we need to have the community's voice heard.
Mm-hmm. Deputy, what message you want to give to the community in terms of car thefts also? The crimes, break and enters, midnight break and enters, and nobody is feeling safe in their home. Either it's a midnight, early morning, and those criminals, they are armed. So this is out of control, out of hand, that we also, when we sleep at night, we don't know, maybe midnight our door might be knocked and we may, so what advice you want to give to the people when their doors are broken and the midnight, what precaution they should take?
An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? So the way to prevent these issues is to make yourself a difficult target. There are a number of ways for us to do that as community members. Remember, I live in Brampton too,
Yes.
and my sister and brother live in Mississauga. So I share your concerns. And again, this is not just an issue around the region of Peel; it's across the GTA. But the way to address these issues is to make yourself a difficult target, and collaboration between community members, Crime Stoppers, Neighborhood Watch, making sure that you know who your neighbors are and that you're communicating with them on a regular basis. Those are the ways that communities can help safeguard themselves, make themselves difficult targets, and then we layer on top of that the work done by police and once there's an offense, or if there's activity that the police need to investigate. Those are the ways we can safeguard our communities.
But if midnight someone door is broken, armed gunmen, so what those resident households they should do to protect themselves?
Well, what I would say is, to don't take unnecessary risks. There's the primary issue is safety.
Call the police and let them know whatever
call
they
the police. Call the police. Focus
Okay.
on keeping your family safe. Don't get into confrontations. We can always replace property, and I know that's a difficult thing to say. When someone's breaking into the sanctity of your home, but the primary issue is physical safety. Life. I would call the police. Let us do our job, and then we can always focus on the property issues afterwards. But safety is the number one concern.
So, Deputy, you have a long experience in policing, and you are the Deputy Chief. How you see, what is the reason of this crime rise? Because before, 7-8 years ago, we never saw this. What is the reason when police evaluate that reason of car thefts? It's a very high. Reason of break and enters, very high. Public safety issue is the most concern for the police, for the residents. So crime rate has gone up and up and up. So what is the reason behind this?
Nitin, you raise an issue that is of concern to many people in our community. But and I'm not trying to deflect, but we've got to understand we have one of the most dynamic, diverse communities in the country. This is and it's a growing community. The issues that you have raised are not just issues in the region of Peel.
Across Canada,
they're across Canada, and they're a concern to every policing and law enforcement agency. There are a lot of factors that feed into the challenges that we face, and we're working as a not only as an agency but as a profession to work to prevent this sort of issue. Some of it's driven by economics and a lot of complexities that we don't have time to get into here. But all of those pieces come into play when you have large urban centers. Brampton and Mississauga are growing rapidly. There are a lot of issues that come with large urban centers.
So do you think is unchecked immigration is also one of the reasons? Unchecked immigration.
I don't. I'd be speculating, and I don't speculate on without solid evidence. I don't like speculating.
Okay.
But I can say this: that whatever the challenges are, we're working to address them. But we need the community's support and help and advocacy. And I think that's one of the things that you've been very good at.
Yes. Your message is to the community, to the media, that advocate to the elected officials also. My question is, police chief across the country, because crime rate is up across the country.
Mm-hmm.
Does police chief across the country, all the regions, they advocated to the Solicitor General, Advocate General, to the Prime Minister, to the federal government? Did they advocated this?
Absolutely. Okay. So the chief is just the past president of the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police, and during his term in office, he was leading the charge for all the chiefs across Ontario to address these issues.
Okay.
And we work with our partners, the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police, CACP, to advocate for the issues that we're talking about today.
Okay. And Deputy, thank you very much. We all will advocate. When police is advocating to the federal government, being a media, we will appeal to the community, advocate to your elected officials so that we can reduce the crime, we can change our system, we can bring the stronger laws, we can bring the bail reforms because that is the need of the hour. We can't see midnight break-ins. We can't see every 6 minutes one car is stolen. We can't see that people, when they walk on the roads, they should not feel safe. When we go to the Dubai, and there are so many social media reports, in Dubai everybody is safe. Here everybody is feeling scared because anything, anytime, anything can happen. And your final message to the community?
Final message is to reinforce some of the things you've said, Nitin. You know, we share the community's concerns around the crimes that we have seen in our community, and the way to address those crimes is to work together. Not just the police, but all of our agencies in our community, to mitigate the risks, to respond when as necessary, to make sure that we're doing the pieces we need to do to prevent crime, and then build resilient, strong communities that where crime is no longer a challenge or an issue for us. And you know, I'm gonna say this. Please, if you're the victim of a crime, contact the police. Whether it's extortion or B&E or auto theft, you know, contact us.
Yes.
Let us do our job, and we'll do it to the best of our ability.
Okay, thank you, Deputy. Thank you very much for all this. So ਆ ਸੀਗੇ ਪੀਲ ਰੀਜਨਲ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੇ ਡਿਪਟੀ ਚੀਫ ਮਾਰਕ ਐਂਡਰਿਊਜ਼, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਅਪੀਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਮੀਡੀਆ, ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਐਂਡ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਵੀ ਐਡਵੋਕੇਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਏ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਫੀਸ਼ੀਅਲਸ ਨੂੰ, ਬਿਕੋਜ਼ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਉਹ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਜੋ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਦਾਇਰੇ 'ਚ ਹੈ। ਕੈਚ ਦ ਕ੍ਰਿਮੀਨਲ, ਦੇ ਆਰ ਡੂਇੰਗ ਇਟ, ਬਟ ਵਟ ਨੈਕਸਟ? ਅਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਕਿ ਬੇਲ ਤੇ ਵੀ ਲੋਕ ਬਾਹਰ ਹੈ। ਬੇਲ ਰਿਫਾਰਮਸ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਹੈ? ਟਫਰ ਲਾਸ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਹੈ? ਅਦਰਵਾਈਜ਼ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਿਕਿਉਰਿਟੀ ਸੇਫਟੀ ਦੀ ਸਿਚੁਏਸ਼ਨ ਬਣੀ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ, ਮਿਡਨਾਈਟ ਬ੍ਰੇਕ ਐਂਟਰਸ, ਕਾਰ ਚੋਰੀਆਂ, ਹਰ 6 ਮਿੰਟ 'ਚ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਡੀ ਚੋਰੀ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, ਔਰ ਬਾਕੀ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਹੀ ਹੈ। ਇਹਦਾ ਜਵਾਬ ਸਾਡੇ ਇਲੈਕਟਿਡ ਆਫੀਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ? ਜਿਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਮੇਅਰ ਬਰਾਊਨ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਹੀਨੀਅਸ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਅਗਲੇ ਦਿਨ ਬੰਦਾ ਬਾਹਰ ਹੈ, ਇਹਦਾ ਜਵਾਬ ਕੌਣ ਦਊਗਾ? ਔਰ ਬਾਕੀ ਆਫੀਸ਼ੀਅਲਸ ਕਦ ਇਹਦਾ ਆਨਸਰ ਦਊਗੇ ਕਿ ਇਟਸ kept on rolling and rolling and rolling for last 6-7 years? Where is the answer by the elected officials? We want to hear from them.